Blood dripped from the boy's forehead onto the little girl's face. She wasn't moving. He collapsed at the Hells Angels gate at 2:47 in the morning, his 15-year-old body finally surrendering after 40 miles through the Nevada desert. His arms wrapped around the 8-year-old, refused to let go even as his knees hit concrete. "Please protect her." His voice shattered the silence like breaking glass. "They're coming. They'll kill her. Please, Aish." When the bikers lifted the girl's sleeve, what they discovered made grown men turn away. Cigarette burns, dozens of them. Fresh wounds layered over old scars, painting a map of suffering across pale skin. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was what the boy said next, his words tumbling out in desperate gasps between ragged breaths. "She's not my sister. I found her in a cage. There are 12 more children still trapped there." The gate alarm had pierced through the Nevada night like a wounded animal. Iron was the first one up. At 53 years old, the Hells Angels chapter president hadn't slept through a full night in over a decade. Not since the Gulf War. Not since his daughter Stella. He grabbed the baseball bat beside his bed and moved toward the security monitors without turning on a single light muscle memory from another life guiding him through the darkness. What he saw on those grainy screens made him freeze mid-step. A kid, maybe 15, maybe younger, covered in blood that looked black under the sodium lights, carrying something in his arms. No, not something, someone. A little girl small enough to be 5 but probably older, her body limp, her face turned into the boy's chest. Iron's voice cut through the clubhouse like a blade. "Raven, Knox, get up now!" Raven appeared first shirtless, a pistol already in his hand. The vice president of the chapter didn't ask questions. 45 years of living hard had taught him when to act and when to hesitate. This was a time for action. He moved to Iron's side and looked at the monitor, his jaw tightening at what he saw. "What the hell is that?" "That's what I'm about to find out." Iron crossed the main room in 4 strides and threw open the front door. The desert air hit him like a furnace, even at nearly 3 in the morning. Nevada didn't care about clocks or comfort or the desperate prayers of broken children stumbling through its wasteland. The boy looked up. His face was a mess of dirt and blood and something worse than pain. Horror. Pure animal terror that Iron recognized from his own reflection in darker times, from faces of soldiers who'd seen too much from the mirror after Stella's funeral when he couldn't remember his own name through the grief. "Please," the word came out, broken, desperate, final. "Please protect her. They're coming. Please." And then he collapsed. The girl tumbled from his arms like a rag doll. Iron lunged forward and caught her before she hit the ground. She weighed nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like holding a bundle of sticks wrapped in a torn dress that had once been white, but was now the color of desert dust and dried blood. "Raven, get them inside. Knox, lock that gate and kill the lights. All of them." Raven holstered his weapon and scooped up the unconscious boy. The kid groaned but didn't wake. Blood dripped from a gash on his forehead, leaving a trail across the concrete like breadcrumbs leading back to hell. Knox, the youngest member of the chapter at 24, sprinted toward the gate controls. Within seconds, the compound went dark. Only the emergency lights remained, casting everything in shades of red that made the blood on the children look even darker, even more wrong. Inside, Iron laid the girl on the leather couch in the common room. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing was shallow but steady, each inhale rattling in her chest like dried leaves. She clutched a ragged teddy bear against her chest like her life depended on it. Like that threadbare toy was the only thing keeping her tethered to the world. "She's burning up," Iron said, pressing the back of his hand to her forehead. The heat radiating from her skin was alarming. "Fever's got to be 103, maybe higher." Raven set the boy down on the floor nearby. "Kid's dehydrated as hell. Look at his lips cracked straight through. How far you think they walked in this heat?" "Could be miles. Could be more." Knox burst back through the door, breathing hard. "Gates locked, cameras are up. I don't see anyone on the road yet, but..." He trailed off when he saw the children properly for the first time, saw the blood and the bruises and the burns. "Jesus Christ, what happened to them?" "That's what we're going to find out." Iron straightened up his back, protesting. 53 felt a lot older than it used to, especially at 3 in the morning, especially when looking at broken children who reminded him too much of what he'd lost. Knox, get water, clean towels, the first aid kit from my office. On it. Raven, call Marlowe. Raven's eyebrows shot up. Your ex-wife. It's 3 in the morning. She's a nurse. These kids need medical attention, and we can't exactly take them to the hospital right now. Not until we know what we're dealing with. Raven pulled out his phone and stepped away, his voice dropping to a murmur that Iron couldn't quite hear. It didn't matter. Marlowe would come. She'd complained about a lot of things during their marriage and after, but she'd never once refused to help someone in need. It was one of the things he'd loved about her. One of the things that made the divorce feel like cutting off his own arm. The girl stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused, confused pupils blown wide with fever and fear. She saw Iron's face looming over her, and her entire body went rigid. Muscles locked. Breath stopped. For one terrible moment, she was a statue of terror. Then she screamed. Not a normal scream, not the cry of a child waking up scared in an unfamiliar place. This was something else entirely. Something primal. Something that had been building inside her for months, maybe years, compressed and condensed, until it came out as pure sound, pure fear, pure agony that had nowhere else to go. She screamed and screamed and screamed, and then just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. Her mouth kept moving, her chest kept heaving, but no sound came out. Like someone had cut the audio cable, like her voice had simply given up, exhausted from the effort of existing in a world that hurt this much. Iron had seen shell shock in soldiers. He'd seen trauma in ways most people couldn't imagine, had watched men break under the weight of what they'd witnessed, what they'd done, what had been done to them. But this little girl had retreated somewhere deep inside herself, somewhere the world couldn't reach her anymore, somewhere she thought might be safe, even though nowhere was truly safe. Hey. His voice dropped to something gentle, something he had almost forgotten he was capable of after a decade of rage and grief and whiskey. The voice he'd used with Stella when she was small, before the cancer, before the chemo, before the hospital room where she'd taken her last breath while holding his hand and telling him not to be sad. Hey, sweetheart, you're safe. No one's going to hurt you here. She stared at him with eyes that had seen too much. 8 years old and already ancient. 8 years old and already broken in ways that might never heal. Her hand tightened on the teddy bear until her knuckles went white. The boy groaned from the floor. Harper! His eyes snapped open. He tried to sit up, failed, tried again. When he saw Iron standing over the girl, something changed in his face. The fear was still there, would probably always be there, but now it was wrapped in something harder. Something protective. Something that said he'd been keeping this little girl alive for a long time, and he wasn't about to stop now. He lunged. Iron caught the kid's wrist before his fist connected. Easy, easy, I'm not going to hurt her. Get away from her. Kid, look around. You came to us. You asked us to protect her. That's what we're doing. The boy's eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal looking for exits. Leather furniture, motorcycle parts on shelves. A wall covered in patches and photographs. Men in cuts standing in doorways watching. Slowly, very slowly, the fight drained out of him. Where am I? Hell's Angels Clubhouse. Nevada chapter. I'm Iron. I'm the president here. He released the kid's wrist carefully, making sure the boy understood it was a gesture of trust. Now you want to tell me who's after you and why? The boy looked at the girl. She was still staring at nothing, clutching her bear. Her mouth moving in silent words that might have been prayers or pleas or just the sound of someone trying to remember what their own voice sounded like. Her name's Harper, he said quietly. She hasn't talked in 6 months. Not since, he stopped, swallowed hard. Not since, not since what? The boy shook his head, unable or unwilling to finish the sentence. Knox returned with water towels and the first aid kit. He handed a bottle to Iron, who pressed it into the boy's hands. Drink. Slow. The kid drank like he'd never tasted water before, like it was the first good thing that had happened to him in 3 years, which Iron suspected might actually be true. What's your name, son? Cade. All right, Cade, how old are you? 15. And the girl, Harper, how old is she? 8, I think. She doesn't remember her birthday. Iron felt something cold settle in his stomach, something that reminded him of patrols in the desert overseas, of finding villages after the bombs had fallen, of children who couldn't remember their own names because remembering meant facing what had been done to them. She doesn't remember. Cade shook his head again. His hands were trembling now, adrenaline wearing off, shock setting in. The water bottle sloshed. Cade, I need you to talk to me. Where did you come from? Who's chasing you? They'll kill us if they find us. Who will? Cade's jaw tightened. He looked at Harper, then back at Iron. Something shifted in his eyes, a decision being made, a line being crossed. There's a ranch, about 40 miles east, out in the desert off the roads. Nobody knows it's there. What kind of ranch? The kind where kids go in and don't come out. The room went silent. Even the air seemed to stop moving. Raven stepped forward, his phone still in his hand. Marlowe's on her way, 20 minutes. He looked at Cade, really looked at him. Kid, what exactly are you saying? Cade set down the water bottle. His hands were steadier now, like talking about it somehow made it more real, more manageable, like sharing the burden meant he didn't have to carry all of it alone. I've been there for 3 years, since I was 12. They grabbed me outside a bus station in Phoenix, told me they were taking me to a group home. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Only bitterness and rage, and the kind of resignation that came from understanding finally that the world was worse than you'd ever imagine. It wasn't a group home. What was it? A holding facility. They keep kids there, move them around, sell them to whoever pays. Knox made a sound like someone had punched him in the gut. Iron held up a hand to silence him, but his own stomach was churning, bile rising in his throat. How many kids? When I left 12, down in the basement, in cages. Cade's voice cracked like thin ice over deep water. Harper was in the one next to mine. She was there when I arrived 3 years ago. She was 5 years old. Iron closed his eyes, just for a moment, just long enough to push down the rage that was building in his chest like a pressure cooker about to explode. 5 years old in a cage. 5 years old and already in hell. How did you get out? One of the guards got careless, left a door unlocked after he... Cade stopped, swallowed hard. After he finished with one of the younger kids. I grabbed Harper and ran. We've been walking for 2 days. 2 days in this heat. We traveled at night, hid during the day, found water where we could. He looked at Harper, and his face softened in a way that made him look younger than 15, made him look like the child he should have been instead of the soldier he'd become. She stopped walking about 10 miles back. I carried her the rest of the way. Iron did the math in his head. 10 miles through the desert carrying an 8-year-old girl in the middle of summer. The kid should be dead. Should have collapsed miles ago, should have given up, should have left her behind to save himself. But he hadn't. How did you know to come here? Cade met his eyes. I didn't. I saw the bikes outside. Saw the sign. My dad used to ride before he died. He told me that bikers look after their own, that they protect people who can't protect themselves. His voice wavered. I didn't have anywhere else to go. Raven crouched down next to Cade. The people who run this place, the ranch, do they know you're gone by now? Yeah, they know. And they're looking for you. When they'll never stop looking. Harper's worth too much to them. Worth too much? What does that mean? Cade looked away, couldn't meet Raven's eyes. There was a man. He came to the ranch 3 times. He had money. Real money. He wanted to buy her. The owner said no at first. They said she was too young. But the last time he came, he squeezed his eyes shut. I heard them talking. They made a deal. He was coming back for her next week. That's when I knew we had to run. The front door opened. Marlowe walked in, medical bag in hand, silver hair pulled back in a practical braid. She was 48 years old and looked, every day of it looked like someone who'd spent 2 decades patching up people who probably didn't deserve patching up, who'd seen too much suffering and kept showing up anyway because someone had to. She took one look at the scene and her nurse's instincts kicked in like a switch being flipped. Everyone out except Iron. Now. Raven, Knox, and the other members filtered toward the back of the clubhouse without argument. You didn't argue with Marlowe when she used that tone. You just did what she said and hoped she'd forgive you later for whatever you'd done to piss her off. Marlowe knelt beside Harper. Her movements were calm, professional, the movements of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before. What's her name? Harper, Iron said. Harper, sweetheart, I'm Marlowe. I'm a nurse. I'm gonna... Trying to check you over, okay? I'm not going to hurt you. Harper didn't respond, didn't blink, didn't move. Her eyes stayed fixed on something middle distance, something only she could see. Marlowe began her examination with gentle efficiency. Pulse, temperature, eyes, ears. She lifted the girl's thin arms to check for injuries, and that's when she stopped. Iron. Her voice had changed, harder, colder. The voice of someone seeing something that made them reconsider everything they thought they knew about human nature. What is it? Marlowe pushed up the sleeve of Harper's dress. Even in the dim light, Iron could see them. Small, circular scars running up and down the inside of her arm, like a twisted connect-the-dots puzzle. Cigarette burns. Dozens of them. Some old and faded ghosts of past torments. Some fresh enough that they were still scabbed over angry red wounds that would scar and fade and join the others in a permanent record of suffering. Iron felt his hands curl into fists. There's more, Marlowe said quietly. She moved to Harper's back, lifting the dress just enough to see. Welts, bruises in various stages of healing, painting a timeline of violence. Yellow and green and purple and black. Marks that could only have come from a belt or a switch, or something worse, marks that spoke of systematic, deliberate cruelty. How long? Marlowe's voice was barely a whisper. Some of these are years old, some are days old. Days. Days. Marlowe lowered the dress with shaking hands. Her face was pale. In 20 years of nursing, she'd seen a lot. But this was different. This child has been systematically abused for most of her life. Cade spoke from behind them. They all have. All 12 of them. But Harper got it worse because she wouldn't stop crying. In the beginning, before she stopped talking, she used to cry for her mom. They beat her until she stopped. Marlowe turned to look at the boy. Really look at him. Take off your shirt. I'm fine. That wasn't a request. Cade hesitated, then pulled his hoodie over his head with movements that were too careful, too practiced. His torso told the same story. Scars, bruises, ribs visible beneath skin stretched too tight over bones that should have had more muscle, more fat, more evidence of childhood. Jesus, Marlowe breathed. I'm fine, Cade repeated, but his voice was hollow. Just take care of Harper. Iron stood up. He walked to the window and looked out at the darkness beyond. His reflection stared back at him. An old man with too many ghosts, too many failures, too many nights spent wondering why his daughter had died while he'd lived. 40 miles east, a ranch in the desert, 12 children in cages. He'd spent 20 years riding with the Hells Angels. He'd done things he wasn't proud of, things that would send him to prison if anyone ever found out. Things he'd done to survive, to protect his brothers, to carve out some smallest piece of territory in a world that didn't give a damn about outcasts and outlaws. But he'd always lived by a code. Protect the innocent, punish the guilty, never ever harm a child. Someone had violated that code in the worst possible way, and they were still out there, still operating, still hurting kids who had nowhere to run, no one to save them. Raven, his VP appeared in the doorway instantly. Yeah. Call church. Everyone. I don't care if it's 4 a.m. I want every member in the chapel in 1 hour. What do I tell them? Iron turned around. His face had changed. The weariness was gone. In its place was something cold, something dangerous, something that men had learned to fear on battlefields and in back alleys for decades. Tell them we're going to war. The next hour passed in a blur of activity. Marlowe stabilized both children, getting fluids into Cade and bringing Harper's fever down with medication from her bag. Neither of them would go to a hospital. Not yet. Not until Iron understood exactly what they were dealing with, who they could trust, who might be involved in whatever operation had kept these kids in cages for years. Cade refused to sleep. Every time someone suggested he rest, his eyes would dart to Harper and he'd shake his head. I can't. Not until I know she's safe. Finally, Iron pulled up a chair and sat across from the boy. You've been watching out for her a long time. It wasn't a question. 3 years, Cade said. Since the day they put her in the cage next to mine. You're not related. No. Then why? Why risk your life for a little girl you don't even know? Cade was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was distant, like he was talking about someone else, some other boy in some other hell. The first night they brought her in, she was screaming. They threw her in the cage and locked the door and walked away. She screamed for hours. Her voice gave out before she stopped trying. He paused, his hands twisted together in his lap. Everyone else just ignored it. The other kids had learned not to react, to stay small and quiet and invisible. But I couldn't. I reached through the bars of my cage and held her hand. I didn't say anything. I just held her hand until she fell asleep. Iron said nothing. There was nothing to say. After that, she wouldn't let go. Every night she'd reach for me. Every time they took her somewhere, she'd look for me when they brought her back. I became, he struggled for the word, I became the only thing that made her feel safe. So you protected her. As much as I could, which wasn't much. His voice turned bitter. I couldn't stop them from hurting her. I couldn't stop them from doing what they did. All I could do was be there after. Hold her hand, tell her it would be okay even though I knew it was a lie. Iron leaned forward. It's not a lie anymore. Cade looked up. I'm going to make you a promise right now, and I've never broken a promise in my life. Iron's voice was steady, certain the voice of a man who'd found his purpose after years of searching. No one is ever going to hurt that little girl again. I will burn this state to the ground before I let that happen. Do you understand me? Something broke in Cade's face. The armor he'd built up over 3 years cracked just for a moment, and Iron saw the child underneath. The scared, exhausted, desperate child who'd been carrying a weight no teenager should ever have to carry. Why? Cade whispered. Why would you help us? You don't know us. We're nothing to you. Iron sat back. His hand went to the chain around his neck, the one that held a small photograph in a tarnished locket. I had a daughter, Stella. She would have been about your age now. Would have been. She died 12 years ago. Cancer. I'm sorry. So am I, every single day. Iron opened the locket and looked at the faded photo inside. A little girl with his eyes and her mother's smile frozen forever at 9 years old, forever laughing at something he couldn't remember now, no matter how hard he tried. After she was gone, I thought I'd never feel anything again. I rode, I drank, I fought. I tried to outrun the grief until I realized it wasn't something you outrun. It's something you carry. He closed the locket. But tonight you showed up at my door. A boy who spent 3 years protecting a little girl because no one else would. A boy who walked 40 miles through the desert because he believed that somewhere, somehow, there were people who would help. Iron met Cade's eyes. I can't save my daughter. She's gone. But I can save Harper. I can save you. I can make sure that whatever happened in that desert never happens again. Cade was crying now, not sobbing, just silent tears streaming down his face. I can't stop, he said. I can't stop watching out for her, even here, even now. What if they find us? What if they won't? You don't know that. You're right, I don't, but I know something they don't know. What? Iron stood up. Through the window he could see headlights approaching. Members arriving for church called from their beds in the middle of the night because their president had declared war. They just picked a fight with the Hells Angels, and we don't lose. The chapel was a converted storage room at the back of the clubhouse. No windows, one door, a long wooden table surrounded by chairs, each one marked with a member's name carved into the wood like a tombstone. 15 men filled the room. All of them wore their cuts. All of them looked like they'd rather be sleeping. None of them complained. Iron stood at the head of the table. 3 hours ago, a boy and a little girl showed up at our gate. They escaped from a place about 40 miles east of here, a place where children are being held against their will. The murmuring started immediately. Iron held up his hand. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. What I'm about to tell you is going to make you sick. It's going to make you angry. It's going to make you want to ride out there right now and burn that place to the ground. He paused. I need you to listen to everything before you react. Understood. Nods around the table. Iron told them everything. The cages, the abuse, the buyers, the children who went in and never came out, the cigarette burns on an 8-year-old girl who hadn't spoken in 6 months, the boy who'd carried her 40 miles because he'd promised to keep her safe. By the end, the room was silent. But it wasn't a peaceful silence. It was the silence of a bomb before Before, it detonates the silence of men who'd seen a lot of bad things in their lives. But this was different. Knox was the first to speak. His voice shook. How many kids did you say? 12 that Cade knows of. 12 kids. In cages. For years. Yes. Knox stood up so fast his chair fell backward. Then what are we sitting here for? Let's go. Sit down. Iron, I said sit down. Knox's jaw clenched, but he righted his chair and sat. The muscles in his arms were coiled tight, ready to explode. Raven spoke next. His voice was calm, measured the voice of a man who'd learned long ago that anger was more dangerous when it was controlled. What's the play? First, we get more information. We need to know exactly where this ranch is, how many people are running it, what kind of security they have. We go in blind, we get killed, and those kids never get rescued. And then we make a decision, together, as a club. An older member named Doc raised his hand. What about the case if there's really a trafficking operation out there? The kid says they have got law enforcement on payroll. You believe him? I believe the marks on that little girl's body. I believe what I saw in that boy's eyes. Iron's voice was hard. Someone has been hurting those children for years, and no one has stopped them. Either the cops are involved or they're so incompetent they might as well be. Doc nodded slowly. So we handle it ourselves. We investigate first, then we decide. Raven stood up. I'll call Ghost. If anyone can find out what's really going on at that ranch, it's him. Ghost was a former FBI agent who'd left the Bureau under circumstances no one talked about. He'd been patched into the club 5 years ago and had become their go-to for anything involving information gathering, for digging up dirt that wasn't supposed to be found. Do it, Iron said. Tell him I need everything he can find by tomorrow night. What about the kids? Knox asked. Where are they going to stay? Here, for now. Marlowe's agreed to check on them every day until they're healthy enough to figure out something more permanent. And if the people from the ranch come looking, Iron's expression didn't change. Then they'll find out exactly what happens when you threaten children under our protection. The meeting lasted another hour. Plans were made, assignments given. By the time the sun started to rise over the Nevada desert, casting long shadows across the compound, the Hells Angels had the beginning of a strategy. But Iron knew it wasn't going to be that simple. It never was. He found Cade in the common room, sitting on the floor next to the couch where Harper was sleeping. The boy's eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted, but he refused to close them. You should sleep, Iron said. I will. Later. That's what you said 2 hours ago. Cade shrugged. Iron lowered himself to the floor, groaning as his knees protested. 53 was too old to be sitting on floors, too old to be starting wars, too old for a lot of things. But here he was anyway. Can I ask you something? Cade nodded. Harper, you said she was there when you arrived 3 years ago. That means she was 5. Yeah. Do you know where she came from, who her parents are? Cade was quiet for a long moment. She used to talk about them before she stopped talking. She said her mom had brown hair and her dad sang songs to her before bed. She said they were going to the doctor, and then a man grabbed her. Grabbed her from where? A parking lot, a hospital parking lot. She said she was in the car, and her mom went inside to get something, and when she came back, Harper was gone. Iron felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. Her parents didn't abandon her. No, someone took her. She was 5 years old, waiting in a car for her mom, and someone took her. Do you know what city? She couldn't remember. She was too young. All she remembered was the man had a blue truck and he gave her candy that made her sleep. Blue truck. Candy. A 5-year-old girl stolen from a hospital parking lot. Somewhere out there, Harper's parents were still looking for her. Still hoping. Still waiting. We're going to find them, Iron said. Her parents. We're going to find them and bring their daughter back. Cade looked at him. And if they don't want her anymore, it's been 3 years. What if they've moved on? What if they've given up? Have you ever met a parent who's lost a child? Cade shook his head. They never give up. They never move on. They spend every day of their lives wondering what happened, praying for a miracle. Iron's voice was rough. Trust me, I know. The sun was fully up now. Light streamed through the windows, harsh and unforgiving. Harper stirred. Her eyes opened, and for a moment they were clear. Present. She looked at Cade, then at Iron, then back at Cade. Her mouth opened, her lips formed a word. No sound came out, but Iron could read it. Safe. Cade took her hand. Yeah, Harper. We're safe. These are good people. They're going to help us. Harper looked at Iron again. Those ancient eyes in that child's face, weighing, judging, deciding whether to trust or retreat back into silence. Then she did something that made Iron's heart stop. She reached out slowly, carefully, like someone testing whether fire was hot. Her small hand moved toward the chain around his neck, toward the locket that held Stella's photo. Iron didn't move, didn't breathe. Harper's fingers touched the locket. She looked at it for a long moment, then looked up at Iron, and she spoke. Her voice was rusty, unused, barely more than a whisper. But it was there. After 6 months of silence, it was there. Pretty. One word. Just one. But it was everything. Like my mama's necklace. Cade's eyes went wide. Marlowe, who'd been dozing in a chair nearby, sat up straight. Iron's hands were shaking. He carefully opened the locket and showed Harper the photograph inside. His daughter. His Stella. Forever 9. Forever smiling. That's my little girl, he said, his voice cracking. She was about your age when this was taken. Harper studied the photo. Where is she? 3 words. A complete sentence. A question that showed she was thinking, processing, coming back from wherever she'd been. She's in heaven now. She got sick and the doctors couldn't make her better. Harper looked at the photograph for a long moment. Then she looked at Iron. I'm sorry. 2 more words. An expression of empathy from a child who'd been through hell, who'd been broken and beaten and burned, but who still had the capacity to care about someone else's pain. She's pretty, Harper whispered, like an angel. And Iron, who hadn't cried since his daughter's funeral 12 years ago, who'd spent more than a decade building walls around his heart that nothing could breach, felt tears streaming down his face. Cade was crying too. Marlowe was wiping her eyes. Harper reached out and touched Iron's face, her small hand gentle against his rough skin. Can you find my mama? I remember her brown hair. And Daddy sang songs. Yes, sweetheart. We're going to find them, I promise. Harper's face transformed. Something that might have been hope, might have been joy, might have been the first glimpse of the child she used to be before monsters stole her. Promise, promise. She settled back against the couch, still holding the teddy bear, still clutching it like a lifeline. But her eyes were clearer now, more present, more here. Can I ask you something? Iron said gently. Harper nodded. The place where you were, the ranch. Can you remember what it looked like? Harper's face went still. For a moment, Iron thought he'd pushed too hard, asked too much too soon. But then she sat up. She looked around the room until she found what she was looking for. A notepad and a pen on the side table. She reached for them. Cade moved to help, but Iron held up a hand. Let her do it herself. Let her have this agency, this choice, this power. Harper took the pen. Her hand was shaking, but she started to draw. Lines appeared on the paper. Crude at first, then more detailed. A building, a fence, guard posts. She drew with the concentration of someone who'd spent a long time memorizing every detail, every shadow, every escape route that might one day save her life. What is that? Marlowe asked quietly. The ranch, Harper whispered without looking up. I remember everything. I can show you where they keep the other kids. Iron felt something surge in his chest, not just hope, not just determination, something bigger, something that felt like purpose, like the reason he'd survived the war and the grief and the decade of drowning in whiskey and rage. You're very brave, Harper. She looked up at him. Cade is braver. He saved me. You saved each other. She thought about that, then nodded and went back to drawing. Over the next 2 hours, Harper filled page after page with details. The layout of the buildings, the location of the cages in the basement, the patterns of the guards, where they kept their weapons, when they changed shifts. Everything a tactical assault team would need to know, all drawn by the shaking hand of an 8-year-old girl who'd spent 3 years in hell learning how to survive. Raven looked at the drawings and let out a low whistle. Kid's got photographic memory. Or she paid very close attention, Iron said. Why would she pay attention to all this if she couldn't escape? Harper answered without looking up from her drawing. Because someday someone would come. And I needed to help them find everyone else. The room fell silent. You knew someone would come, Kate asked. Daddy used to say, good people always win. In the end, they always win. Her hand never stopped moving. I just had to wait for them. Iron exchanged a glance with Raven. This wasn't just a traumatized child. This was a survivor, a fighter, someone who'd kept hope alive in a place designed to destroy it. By noon, they had what they needed. Ghost called with preliminary information. The ranch was real, registered to a shell company out of Delaware, property owned by someone with deep pockets and deeper connections. Who, Iron asked. Still tracing it, but Iron, there's something you should know. The property records show the place has been active for 15 years. 15 years of utility bills, 15 years of supplies being delivered. This isn't some fly-by-night operation. This is established, professional, which means they have protection. Iron hung up and looked at Harper's drawings spread across the table. 12 children in cages, 12 lives, depending on getting this right. Raven, call church again. We need to move up the timeline. How far up? Tomorrow night. We go tomorrow night. That's not enough time to plan properly. It's all the time we have. The longer we wait, the more likely someone realizes Kate and Harper aren't coming back. And when that happens, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The day passed in a blur of planning and preparation. Harper stayed close to Iron and Marlowe, following them around the clubhouse like a shadow. She didn't talk much, but when she did, her observations were sharp and precise. The man who wanted to buy me has gray hair, she said during lunch, and a ring with an eagle, and a scar on his left hand. Iron froze mid-bite. You remember that? I remember everything, I told you. This man, did he have a name? Harper thought about it. Vincent called him Senator. Senator. Senator Crawford, I heard them say it. Raven put down his sandwich. Senator James Crawford. I don't know his first name, just Senator Crawford. Raven pulled out his phone and searched. He held up an image. This him. Harper looked at the screen and went pale. She nodded. That's him. The man in the photo was in his late 50s, gray-haired, distinguished looking. The kind of face you saw on the news talking about family values and protecting children. Jesus Christ, Knox muttered. We need to be careful, Iron said. If a U.S. senator is involved, this goes higher than we thought. All the more reason to burn it down, Raven said. That evening, as the sun set over the desert, Iron found Harper standing at the window looking out at the empty road. What are you thinking about? Finn, she said quietly. He's 10. He used to tell me stories through the cage bars about dragons and princesses and heroes. Finn is one of the other children, she nodded. He's scared of the dark. They put him in the dark room when he cried. I promised him I'd come back. I promised I'd bring help. We're going to get him out, all of them. Harper turned to look at him. You promise, I promise. What if something goes wrong? What if? Then we try again and again until we succeed. Harper studied his face for a long moment, then reached up and touched the locket around his neck again. She would be proud of you. Your daughter, Stella. Iron couldn't speak. His throat had closed up entirely. How do you know? Because you're doing what parents are supposed to do, protecting kids who need protecting. Harper's voice was soft. That's what good people do. That's what Stella would want. Out of the mouths of babes. Wisdom from someone who shouldn't have to be wise, who should be playing with toys and watching cartoons instead of drawing tactical maps and identifying corrupt senators. Harper. Yeah. Thank you for being brave enough to speak. Thank you for trusting us. I didn't have a choice. Finn and the others need help. And Cade said you were good people. She looked back out the window. He was right. That night, Iron called one final church meeting. This time, Harper was invited. She stood at the head of the table, her drawings spread out in front of her. This tiny 8-year-old girl facing down 15 hardened bikers like she was briefing generals before battle, which in a way she was. These are the cages, she said, pointing to her drawing with a small finger. This is where they keep us. 12 kids. Finn is here. Sophie is here. Danny is here. She went through each name, each location, each detail with the precision of someone who'd spent 3 years memorizing every inch of her prison. The guards changed shifts at 8. That's when they were most distracted. And this door, she pointed, this door doesn't lock properly. Vincent always forgets to check it. Vincent, Iron asked. Vincent Hayes. He runs the place. He's mean, but he's also lazy. He makes mistakes. Hayes, Ghost said from the doorway. I just got the property records. The ranch is registered to a Vincent Hayes, brother of Sheriff Robert Hayes. And the pieces were falling into place. A corrupt sheriff, his brother running a trafficking ring, a senator as a buyer, God knows who else involved. Harper Iron said gently, I need to ask you something difficult. The sheriff, have you seen him at the ranch? She nodded. He brings new kids sometimes, and he talks to Vincent about money. He brings kids there himself. Yes. So the sheriff wasn't just protecting the operation. He was actively participating in it. Knox slammed his fist on the table. We need to move tonight. We move tomorrow night as planned, Iron said. We need daylight to scout the approach. We need to be smart about this. While we're being smart, those kids are suffering. While we're being smart, we're making sure the rescue actually works. We go in half-cocked, we all die, and nobody gets saved. Knox sat back down, but his jaw was tight. Harper looked around the table at these men, these outlaws, these bikers whose society had written off as criminals and thugs. And she said something that would stay with Iron for the rest of his life. You're the heroes from Finn's stories. The ones who come when nobody else will. Raven cleared his throat. Knox looked away. Even Doc, who'd seen everything in his 60 years, wiped at his eyes. We won't let you down, Iron said. I know. Harper's voice was certain. Stella told me. Stella, in my dreams, she said you'd come. She said her daddy was the bravest man she ever knew. Harper smiled, small and genuine. She was right. The meeting adjourned, plans were finalized, weapons checked, routes mapped, everything was ready. Everything except the knock at the door that came at midnight. Iron was going over the assault plan one more time when he heard it. Not the gate alarm, just a simple knock. 3 raps, then silence. He moved to the monitors. A police cruiser sat outside the gate, a single officer standing at the door. Sheriff Robert Hayes. Wake everyone, Iron said quietly. We've got company. By the time he reached the front door, every member of the club was armed and positioned. Harper and Cade were secured in the back room with Marlowe. Iron opened the door but didn't step outside, kept the threshold between them. Sheriff, evening, I'm looking for 2 runaways, a boy and a girl. Got reports they might have come this way. Haven't seen any runaways. Hayes smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. You sure about that boy's dangerous? Mental problems. He kidnapped the girl from a foster home about 2 days ago. Her foster parents are worried sick. Foster parents, that's right, good people. They just want their little girl back. Iron studied the man in front of him. The pressed uniform, the practiced smile, the eyes that held nothing but calculation and threat. Like I said, haven't seen them. Hayes' smile flickered. Mind if I take a look around, just to be thorough? You got a warrant. Didn't think I'd need one. Just a friendly visit. Come back with a warrant, then we'll talk. Hayes' smile disappeared entirely. He took a step closer to the fence, close enough that Iron could see the rage barely contained beneath the professional facade. Listen to me carefully. I know they're here. I know you're hiding them. And I know you think you're doing the right thing. He paused. You're not. You're interfering with an active investigation. You're harboring a kidnapper. And you're putting yourself between me and something I will get back no matter what it takes. Iron didn't blink. Is that a threat, Sheriff? It's a promise. Hayes turned and walked back to his cruiser. Before he got in, he looked back over his shoulder. I'll be seeing you, Iron, real soon. The cruiser pulled away, disappearing into the desert darkness. Raven appeared at Iron's side. What do we do? Iron watched the taillights fade. We move up the timeline. Whatever we're going to do, we do it tonight. We don't have enough intel. We don't have a solid plan. We don't have a choice. He knows they're here, which means the people at that ranch know too, which means those 12 kids just became liabilities. Understanding dawned on Raven's face. They'll kill them to cover their tracks. They'll kill them tonight if we don't stop them. Iron walked back inside. Cade was standing by the window, his face white. That was him, wasn't it, the sheriff? The one who owns the ranch. You saw, I saw enough. Cade's hands were shaking again. He's going to come back. He's going to take her away from me. No, he's not. How do you know? How can you possibly? Because I'm going to stop him. Cade stared at him. Iron looked at the boy and at Harper, peeking out from the back room with Marlowe's arms around her, at his brothers gathering, ready to ride, ready to fight. I'm going to tear his operation apart piece by piece. I'm going to rescue those children. And then I'm going to make sure Robert Hayes never hurts another kid again. He turned to his men. Gear up. We ride in 1 hour. Harper stepped forward. She looked small in the doorway, clutching her teddy bear, but her voice was clear and strong. Bring them home. Bring Finn home. Iron knelt down in front of her. I will. I promise. What if it's dangerous? It is dangerous. What if something happens to you? Then someone else will finish what we started. But Harper, listen to me. He took her small hands in his rough ones. We're going to get those kids out, all of them, because that's what good people do. That's what heroes do. Harper threw her arms around his neck. Stella's watching. She wants you to save them. Ian hugged her back, this little girl who'd become his second chance at redemption, his reason to be better than the broken man he'd been for the last 12 years. I know, sweetheart, I know. He stood up and looked at his brothers. 15 men in leather cuts, 15 outlaws, 15 warriors. Mount up. The engines roared to life. One by one, the motorcycles rolled out of the compound into the night. Iron led the way, Raven on his right, Knox on his left. Behind them, 12 more bikes. A small army heading into the desert to wage war against monsters. Harper watched from the window as they disappeared into darkness. Cade stood beside her, his arm around her shoulders. They'll come back, she said. How do you know? Because good people always win. In the end, they always win. In the distance, 15 sets of headlights cut through the night like beams of hope slicing through darkness. And somewhere ahead, 12 children waited in cages, not knowing that rescue was finally coming, that someone had heard their prayers, that heroes were real after all. The war had begun. They killed their engines a quarter-mile from the property. The silence after the roar of 15 bikes was deafening, oppressive, the kind of quiet that pressed against your eardrums and made you wonder if you'd gone deaf. Iron held up his fist. Everyone stopped. The ranch materialized out of the darkness like something from a nightmare. Chain-link fence topped with barbed wire. Guard towers silhouetted against the stars. Lights blazing from a main house that looked too normal, too ordinary to contain the horror Harper had described. But underground, beneath that mundane facade, 12 children waited in cages. Iron pulled out Harper's drawings. Even in the dim light from his phone, every detail was clear. The girl had mapped their salvation with crayons and determination. Raven, take Doc and 3 others. Circle to the north fence. There's a weak point here. He pointed to Harper's notation. 8-year-old drew better tactical maps than half the officers I served with. What about the guards? Leave them to me. They moved through the darkness like shadows, years of riding together, translating into silent coordination. Iron approached the main gate where 2 guards stood smoking, their rifles slung carelessly over shoulders, their attention on a conversation about football scores and weekend plans. Normal men having normal conversations while children rotted in cages behind them. Iron's blood turned to ice. 20 years of military training came flooding back. The first guard never saw him coming. One hand over the mouth pressure point on the neck, and the man crumpled like a puppet with cut strings. Iron lowered him to the ground without a sound. The second guard turned at the soft thump. His eyes went wide. His hand reached for the rifle. Too slow. Iron was on him before he could draw a breath to scream. Another pressure point. Another unconscious body. He zip-tied both men and waved his team forward. The main house was 50 yards ahead. Lights on inside. Movement behind windows. Voices carrying on the night air, casual and unconcerned. They had no idea the world was about to end. Iron reached the door, tested the handle. Locked. He looked at Knox and nodded. The younger man pulled out a breaching tool, positioned it carefully. One kick. The door exploded inward. 3 men inside scrambled for weapons. Iron was faster. 2 shots, both non-lethal, both shoulders. The men went down screaming. The third dove behind the furniture. Where's Vincent Hayes? No answer. Iron walked forward, each step deliberate, and pressed his boot onto one man's wounded shoulder. The scream that erupted was inhuman. I'll ask one more time. Where is Vincent Hayes? Back building with the kids. Please, please, stop. Iron released the pressure. Looked at his brothers. Secure these three. Make sure they don't go anywhere. He moved through the house toward the back door. Through the window, he could see the concrete bunker built into a small hill. Exactly where Harper said it would be. Two more guards at the entrance, rifles ready. They'd heard the commotion. They knew something was wrong. Iron didn't care about stealth anymore. He stepped into the open. Drop your weapons. Both guards raised their rifles. Two shots rang out from Iron's left. Both guards dropped, clutching their legs. Raven emerged from the shadows, pistol smoking. You're welcome. I had it handled. Sure you did. They reached the bunker entrance, a heavy metal door with a padlock on the outside. They locked children in from the outside like animals. Iron shot the padlock. It shattered. He pulled the door open. The smell hit him first. Urine, fear, decay. The concentrated stench of suffering in a small space for far too long. Then he heard them, whimpering, crying, small voices begging in the darkness. It's okay. Iron called out, his voice cracking despite his best effort. We're here to help. No one's going to hurt you anymore. He found the light switch. Fluorescent bulbs flickered to life, and Iron saw them, shoulders. Actual animal cages lined against the walls, 12 of them, and in each cage a child. The oldest, maybe 12. The youngest couldn't have been more than 5. Eyes wide with terror, bodies pressed into corners, waiting for more pain because pain was all they knew. Raven made a sound behind him, something between a pit and a scream. Get them out, Iron said. Get them all out now. They found bolt cutters in a supply closet. One by one the cages opened. One by one the children emerged, blinking in the light, flinching at every sound. Most couldn't walk on their own. Their legs had forgotten how. Doc gathered them together, speaking softly, his 60 years of living hard, giving him a gentleness the younger members didn't have. You're safe now, I promise. We're taking you somewhere safe. A boy with red hair looked up, 10 years old with ancient eyes. Are you real? Or is this another trick? We're real, son. My name's Doc. I'm Finn. The boy's voice broke. Harper said someone worried would come. She said to wait. She said heroes were real. Iron felt something crack in his chest. Harper's safe, she sent us. Harper's alive. She's alive, and she's waiting for you. Finn started crying, not sad tears, relief tears. The tears of someone who'd held hope for so long it hurt, who'd believed when believing was impossible. Where's Vincent? Iron asked. Finn pointed toward a door at the back. His office. He went in when he heard the noise. Iron approached the door. Raven fell in behind him. Iron, wait. No, this one's mine. He kicked the door open. Vincent Hayes sat behind a desk, a pistol in his hand pointed directly at Iron's chest. 45 years old with cold eyes and the kind of face that could smile while hurting children. Stop right there. Iron stopped, but he didn't raise his hands. Didn't show fear. It's over, Vincent. FBI's on the way. Your brother's going down. Everyone involved in this is finished. Vincent laughed, an ugly sound. You think my brother runs this? Robert's just the muscle. This operation is bigger than you can imagine. I don't care how big it is. It ends tonight. Does it? Vincent's grip tightened on the pistol. The people I work for don't forgive failures. They don't leave witnesses. Then I guess we better make sure there aren't any witnesses to what happened here. Vincent's eyes widened. You wouldn't. You're Hell's Angels. You're not murderers. No, we're not. Iron took a step forward. But I'm a father who lost his daughter. I'm a soldier who swore to protect the innocent. And I'm a man who just watched 12 children crawl out of cages where animals like you kept them for years. Another step. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to put that gun down. You're going to walk out to here in handcuffs, and you're going to spend the rest of your miserable life in a prison cell thinking about what you did. And if I don't, Iron smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Then I'll put you down myself and sleep like a baby tonight. Vincent's hands shook. His eyes darted to the door behind Iron, looking for escape, finding none. The FBI will cut me a deal. I know names, I know locations, I can give them everything. I'm sure you can. So you need me alive. No, Iron's voice was cold. I need you to stop talking. He moved faster than a man his age should. His hand closed around Vincent's wrist. The gun discharged into the ceiling. Plaster rained down. One twist and the pistol clattered to the floor. Iron's fist connected with Vincent's face. Once, twice, 3 times. Vincent crumpled, blood streaming from his nose and mouth. That's for the children, Iron said. And this, he grabbed Vincent by the collar and hauled him up. This is for Harper and Cade. One more punch. Vincent went down and didn't get back up. They emerged from the bunker into cool night air. The children were huddled together near the bikes wrapped in blankets. Some crying, some silent. All alive. Finn broke away from the group and ran to Iron. Where's Harper? Where is she? She's safe at our clubhouse, waiting for you. She really sent you. She drew us a map, told us where to find everyone. You were right to trust her. Finn threw his arms around Iron's waist and sobbed. She promised someone would come. In the distance, sirens, FBI responding to ghost tip. Right on time. The rescue had taken 17 minutes from breach to extraction. 17 minutes to save 12 lives. 17 minutes that would echo through the years. They loaded the children onto the bikes carefully, each one riding with a member who spoke softly, promised safety, meant every word. Finn rode with iron arms wrapped tight around the president's waist. Is this what heroes do? The boy asked as they pulled away. This is what anyone should do. But they don't, only you did. Iron had no answer for that. They arrived back at the clubhouse just as dawn broke over the desert. Harper was waiting at the gate with Marlowe and Cade. When she saw the children dismounting, her face transformed. Finn! She ran. Finn saw her and stumbled forward. They collided in the middle of the compound, 2 children who'd survived hell together, reunited in the aftermath. You came back, Finn sobbed. You said you'd send help, and you came back. I promised. I always keep my promises. Harper pulled back and looked at the other children. Sophie, small and blonde. Danny, barely 6 years old. 8 others whose names she called out one by one, greeting them like long-lost family. Because that's what they were. The family you chose when your real family was taken. Marlowe moved among them with quiet efficiency, checking injuries, offering water, providing comfort. 2 other nurses she trusted arrived an hour later. They set up a triage area in the common room. Harper appointed herself as guide and translator. When children were too scared to speak, she spoke for them. When they couldn't explain where it hurt, she showed the nurses. When they cried, she held their hands and told them about heroes on motorcycles and how the bad people were gone forever. Iron watched her work and understood something profound. This 8-year-old girl wasn't a victim anymore. She was a survivor, a leader, someone who'd taken her trauma and transformed it into purpose. The FBI arrived at noon. Agent Sarah Morrison was 50 years old with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She looked at the 12 children and her jaw tightened. We have Vincent Hayes in custody. His brother Robert is in holding. But we need statements. We need to know everything. They're children, Marlowe said. They've been through. I know what they've been through. But if we don't document it now, if we don't get their stories on record, the people responsible walk free. Harper stepped forward. I'll talk. I remember everything. Agent Morrison looked at this small girl with old eyes. You're Harper Whitmore. Yes. You've been missing for 3 years. Yes. Do you remember what happened? I remember everything. They set up in Iron's office. Harper sat in a chair that was too big for her. Agent Morrison across the desk with a recorder. Iron stood by the door. He wouldn't leave her alone for this. Can you tell me what you remember about the day you were taken? Harper's voice was steady, clinical, like she was reciting facts from a textbook instead of describing the moment her childhood ended. We were at the hospital in Tucson. My mom was taking me to see a doctor. She parked the car and went inside to get something. She said she'd be right back. A man knocked on the window. He had a blue truck. He said my mom sent him to get me. I didn't believe him, but he opened the door and grabbed me. He put something over my mouth, something that smelled sweet. And then I woke up in a cage. Can you describe the man? Big, gray hair, beard. He had a tattoo on his arm, a snake eating its tail. Agent Morrison's pen stopped moving. An Ouroboros. I don't know what that's called. Just a snake eating itself. And when you woke up, where were you? In the cage, at the ranch. Vincent Hayes was there. He said I was going to stay there until I learned to behave. I was 5 years old. I didn't understand what behave meant. Harper's hands were folded in her lap. She wasn't crying, wasn't shaking, just telling the truth with the precision of someone who'd practiced this moment in her head 1,000 times. How long were you kept in the wild? 3 years, until 3 days ago when Cade saved me. And during those 3 years were there visitors, people who came to see you. Harper's face changed. Something flickered in her eyes. Yes. Can you describe them? There was a man, he came 3 times. Vincent called him Senator. Agent Morrison leaned forward. Senator, did you hear a full name? Senator Crawford, Senator James Crawford. Are you certain? I remember everything I told you. Can you describe him? Gray hair, tall. He wore expensive suits, always blue suits. He had a ring on his right hand with an eagle and a scar on his left hand. Here. Harper traced a line across her own hand, like someone cut him a long time ago. Agent Morrison pulled out her phone and showed Harper a photo. Is this the man? Harper looked at the screen. Her face went pale, but her voice stayed steady. Yes, that's him. You're sure? He wanted to buy me. I heard them talking. He said I was perfect. Vincent said I was too young. The senator said that was the point. They made a deal. He was coming back the week Cade and I escaped. The recorder captured every word, every detail, every damning piece of testimony from an 8-year-old girl who'd memorized the face of a monster. Harper, this is very important. Did Sheriff Robert Hayes ever visit the ranch? Yes, he brought new kids sometimes. And he talked to Vincent about money, about how much each kid was worth. He brought children to the ranch himself. Yes, he brought Danny. Danny's 6 now. He was 4 when the sheriff brought him. He told Danny he was going to a nice foster home, but he brought him to the cages instead. Agent Morrison's hand was shaking as she wrote, Is there anything else you can tell me? Anyone else who visited? Harper thought for a long moment. There was a woman, she came once a month, she had red hair and fancy clothes. Vincent called her the broker. She brought people who wanted to buy kids. She showed them pictures. She made deals. Did you hear a name? No, just the broker. The interview lasted 2 hours. By the end, Agent Morrison had enough evidence to bring down a trafficking network that had operated for over a decade. And it all came from a little girl who'd paid attention when everyone thought she wasn't, who'd remembered when forgetting would have been easier, who'd survived when giving up would have been kinder. You're very brave, Harper, Agent Morrison said as she packed up her equipment. I'm not brave. I'm just tired of bad people hurting kids. That's what brave means. The other children gave statements too, each one adding pieces to a puzzle that revealed something monstrous. A network spanning multiple states. Hundreds of children over 15 years. Politicians, judges, businessmen all involved. The FBI set up a task force. Operation Clean Sweep, they called it. Warrants were being drafted. Arrests planned. The whole rotten structure was about to come crashing down. But that night, something went wrong. Iron was going over logistics with Raven when Ghost called. We have a problem. What kind of problem? The kind where 3 of the kids we rescued have gone missing from the hospital. Iron was on his feet before Ghost finished the sentence. What do you mean missing? I mean their beds are empty, no sign of them. Security footage shows nothing. That's impossible. That's what I thought, unless someone knew exactly where the cameras were, unless someone had inside help. Which kid? Ghost paused. Finn, Sophie, and Danny. Iron felt the world tilt. Finn. I'm sorry, Iron. FBI scrambling, but how long ago? Security noticed about an hour ago. They could be anywhere by now. Iron hung up and looked at Raven. Get everyone. Now. He found Harper in the common room teaching 2 of the younger children how to play cards. When she saw his face, she stood up immediately. What's wrong? Harper, I need to tell you something. Finn, Sophie, and Danny are missing from the hospital. The cards fell from her hands. Missing. Someone took them. We don't know who, we don't know where. Harper's face went blank. That dissociative look Iron had seen the first night, like she was retreating somewhere deep inside where the world couldn't hurt her. Harper, Harper, stay with me. But she was gone. Her eyes open but unseeing, her mouth moving without sound, her hands starting to shake. Marlowe appeared and knelt in front of the girl. Harper, honey, I need you to come back. Can you hear me? No response. Harper, we need your help. Finn needs your help. Where would they take him? Still nothing. Then Harper spoke. But it wasn't her voice, it was flat, emotionless, mechanical. The mountain. What? They talk about the mountain, where bad kids go to disappear. Marlowe looked up at Iron. She's dissociating, accessing memories she's buried. Harper, Iron said gently, what is the mountain? A place in the mountains, where they take kids who are too much trouble, where they train them, break them, make them into products. Her voice was hollow. Vincent showed me pictures to scare me. Said if I didn't behave, I'd go there. But I remembered the pictures. I remember everything. What kind of pictures? A building, underground, 5 levels, in the mountains, Colorado, I think. Vincent said it was cold there, said the kids who went never came back. Ghost was already at his laptop. Colorado, underground facility, 5 levels. His fingers flew across the keyboard. Holy shit, I found it. Abandoned mining facility purchased 8 years ago by a shell company. Property records show utilities active but no activity visible on satellite. How many people? Heat signatures show at least 50, could be guards, could be staff, could be children. Iron looked at Harper. She was still in that trance state, still accessing memories most people would do anything to forget. Harper, can you remember anything else about the mountain? Anything that might help us find Finn? Vincent had blueprints in his office in a safe behind the painting of the desert. Combination is 3792, his daughter's birthday. He told me once when he was drunk. Said she died when she was 4. Said that's why he hates kids, because we remind him of what he lost. Even in her dissociative state, Harper was giving them tactical intelligence. Agent Morrison arrived within the hour. When Harper came back to herself, she repeated everything she'd said. Then she asked for paper and pencils. I can draw a bit, the mountain, from the pictures Vincent showed me. She spent the next 3 hours drawing. Not rough sketches this time. Detailed architectural renderings, floor plans, guard positions, entry points, everything an assault team would need. How can you remember this much detail? Morrison asked. Because I knew someday I might need it. I knew someday Finn might need it. Harper didn't look up from her drawing. He's 10 years old. He's scared of the dark, and they're going to hurt him. Her hand never stopped moving. By evening, they had what they needed. Ghost had confirmed the location. The FBI was mobilizing, but it would take time. Warrants, planning, bureaucracy, time they didn't have. We go tonight, Iron said. Iron, this isn't a ranch with 6 guards. This is a fortified facility with 50 armed personnel. We need military assets. We need to save those children before they disappear forever. Morrison looked at the determination in his eyes, at the drawings created by an 8-year-old girl, at the brothers ready to ride into hell one more time. I can't officially sanction this. I'm not asking for official sanction, but I can have a tactical team staged nearby in case you need backup. I'll take it. Raven stepped forward. This is different from the ranch. We go in there, we might not come back. I know. We're still going. I know that too. They geared up. 15 men, weapons, determination. Harper watched from the window as they prepared. Kate appeared beside him. They're going to save Finn. I know. How do you know? Because good people always win. But her voice wavered. Don't they? They do when they have your help. That night before they left, Iron found Harper standing at the memorial wall. Photographs of fallen brothers, men who'd died riding, men who'd given everything for the club. Stella would be proud of you, Harper said without turning around. How do you know? Because you're saving kids like me, kids like Finn, kids who need heroes. She turned to face him. That's what good dads do. even when their daughters aren't there to see it. Iron knelt down. I need you to promise me something. What? If we don't come back, if something happens, nothing's going to happen. But if it does, I need you to keep being brave, keep helping other kids, keep using your voice. I promise, but you have to promise me something too. What? Promise you'll bring Finn home. Promise you won't let them break him. Iron looked into those ancient eyes in that young face. I promise. Harper hugged him. Then I know you'll do it, because you always keep your promises. As the bikes roared out into the night, Harper stood at the gate with Marlowe's arms around her. Cade stood on her other side. He'll come back, Marlowe said. With Finn, Harper added. How can you be so sure? Harper touched the locket that Iron had given her before leaving. Stella's locket. Because Stella's watching, and she won't let her daddy fail. The courthouse confrontation happened the next morning. Sheriff Robert Hayes had been released on bail. Judge William Hayes, his older brother, had signed the order. Despite the evidence, despite the testimony, despite everything, the system protecting its own. Iron got the news while preparing for the mountain assault. He was about to ride out when Knox ran in. Turn on the TV. The news was everywhere. Sheriff Hayes released. Vincent Hayes' lawyer claiming wrongful arrest. Senator Crawford issuing a statement about false accusations and political witch hunts. They were trying to bury it. We need to go public, Ghost said. We need to get ahead of this. How to? Harper's testimony. We recorded everything. We release it. We put pressure on the FBI. No, Iron's voice was firm. We don't use that girl as a weapon. She's already a weapon. She's the most powerful weapon we have. They were still arguing when Harper walked in. She'd been listening. Do it, she said. Harper, no bio. Do it. Put my testimony online. Let everyone see. Let everyone know what Senator Crawford did, what the Hayes brothers did. Her voice was steel. Finn and Sophie and Danny are still out there. More kids are still suffering. If my voice can help them use it, you don't know what that means. Once it's out there, you can't take it back. Your face will be everywhere. People will. Good, let them see. Let them see what these monsters do. Let them see an 8-year-old girl who remembers everything and isn't afraid to say it. Agent Morrison was called, lawyers consulted, but in the end it was Harper's choice. The video went live at noon. Harper Whitmore, 8 years old, sitting in a chair too big for her, telling the world exactly what Senator James Crawford had done, what Sheriff Robert Hayes had done, what Vincent Hayes and the broker and dozens of others had done. Within an hour, it had 1 million views. Within 3 hours, 10 million. By evening, 50 million people had watched an 8-year-old girl calmly, clearly, devastatingly describe years of abuse and name her abusers without flinching. The backlash was immediate and fierce. Senator Crawford held a press conference, called it a hoax, called Harper a troubled child who'd been coached, called the Hells Angels domestic terrorists. It didn't matter. The video showed Harper's scars, showed her precision, showed the FBI agents' reactions, showed truth that couldn't be denied no matter how powerful the people trying to deny it. By midnight, protests had erupted in 12 cities, demanding arrests, demanding justice, demanding that children like Harper be protected. The pressure became unstoppable. At 2 in the morning, the FBI executed simultaneous warrants. Senator Crawford arrested at his Georgetown home, Judge William Hayes taken from his chambers, the broker identified and apprehended, 17 arrests total, the circle exposed. Harper watched the news from the clubhouse, watched powerful men in handcuffs, watched the empire crumble. You did that, Marlowe said softly. You brought them down. No, they brought themselves down. I just told the truth. Cade sat beside her. Are you okay? I don't know. 50 million people saw my face, heard my story. I can't take it back. Do you want to take it back? Harper thought about Finn still missing, about the mountain still operating, about hundreds of other children still suffering. No, I want to help more. I want to make sure no other kid goes through what we went through. The phone rang. Ghost. Iron wants Harper to know something. They found the mountain, they're going in, and they're bringing Finn home. Harper closed her eyes. Tell him I drew him good maps. Tell him Stella's watching. Tell him, her voice broke. Tell him thank you for being the dad I needed when my real dad couldn't find me. The assault on the mountain happened at dawn. Iron led 15 brothers through mining tunnels that Harper's drawings had mapped perfectly. They encountered resistance. Guards who fought. Iron fought harder. They found Finn in a cell on the third level. Sophie and Danny in cells nearby. 32 other children scattered across the 5 underground levels, children who'd been there when the original 12 from the ranch were transferred days earlier. 44 children total, not counting Finn, Sophie, and Danny. The FBI tactical team Ghost had positioned nearby swept in when the shooting started. Together with the Hells Angels, they secured the facility in 27 minutes. Not a single child was harmed. When Finn saw Iron, he cried, "Harper sent you. I knew she would." She did more than that. She gave us the map. She brought down the people who hurt you. She changed everything. They loaded the children onto helicopters. Medical teams waiting, counselors ready. A whole system mobilized because one 8-year-old girl had found her voice and refused to be silenced. Iron called the clubhouse from the helicopter. "We got them, all of them, 47 children total, including the 12 we rescued from the ranch." Harper's scream of joy could be heard through the phone. Finn's here. He wants to talk to you." The phone was passed. 2 children who'd survived hell together connected by a satellite signal. "Harper. Finn, are you okay?" "I am now. You really did it. You really brought heroes." "I told you I would. I told you good people always win." "You were right. You were right about everything." When Iron returned to the clubhouse that evening, Harper was waiting at the gate. She'd spent all day drawing, not maps this time. Pictures of dragons and princesses and heroes on motorcycles. Pictures for Finn, pictures to welcome him home. The helicopters landed in the desert. The children were taken to a secure medical facility. But Iron brought Finn to the clubhouse first. Just for an hour. Just so he could see Harper. So they could see each other and know it was real. They met in the common room. Finn was taller than Harper. Older. But in that moment, they were just 2 kids who'd survived the unsurvivable. "You kept your promise," Finn said. "So did you. You waited for help. You believed. Because you told me to." They hugged for a long time. Other rescued children filtered in. Sophie, Danny, the 8 from the ranch. Some of the 44 from the mountain who were stable enough to travel. Harper moved among them like a general among troops, checking on each one, offering comfort, sharing hope. Iron watched her and understood that something extraordinary had happened. This little girl had transformed from victim to survivor to leader. She'd found her voice and used it to save dozens, maybe hundreds, when the full scope of the Circle's operation was revealed. Agent Morrison arrived that night with news. "Senator Crawford is cooperating. He's giving us names, locations, financial records. The entire network is unraveling." "What about the children?" Marlowe asked. "Where will they go?" "That's complicated. We're trying to identify families. Reunite where possible. But many were taken so young they don't remember their parents. Some have been gone so long their families have given up." Harper spoke up. "Then we make new families." "What?" "The kids who have nowhere to go, we make new families for them. People who understand. People who care." She looked at Iron. "People like you." The seed of an idea planted. That night, Harper couldn't sleep. Too much had happened. Too much had changed. She found Iron on the porch looking at the stars. "Can't sleep either," he asked. "Too much in my head." "I know the feeling." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. "Iron. Yeah, my real parents, the ones who lost me 3 years ago. Do you think they stopped looking?" "No, sweetheart, I know they didn't." "How do you know?" "Because no parent ever stops looking. No parent ever gives up hope." "But it's been 3 years." "Doesn't matter. Could be 30 years. They're still looking, still hoping, still praying for a miracle." Harper thought about that. "Do you think they'll want me back after everything that happened? After I've been on TV and everyone knows what happened to me?" Iron pulled her close. "They'll want you back more than anything in the world. And they'll love you exactly as you are. Brave, strong, incredible. I'm scared to meet them." "That's okay. Being scared doesn't mean you're not brave. It means you're brave enough to do scary things anyway." "Is that what you did when you decided to help me and Cade?" "That's exactly what I did." Harper leaned against him. "I'm glad you were scared. I'm glad you did it anyway. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. In the distance, more headlights approached. More FBI vehicles. More social workers. More people coming to help piece together the lives of 47 rescued children. The work was just beginning. But for one night, Harper allowed herself to feel safe, to feel protected, to feel like maybe, just maybe, the worst was behind her and something better waited ahead. She didn't know that her parents were less than 24 hours away. She didn't know that a reunion would break her heart and heal it at the same time. She didn't know that the story was far from over. But she knew that she'd found her voice, and she would never be silent again. Ghost found Cade in the garage 2 days after the mountain rescue. The boy was changing oil on one of the bikes, his hands black with grease, his face focused on something that made sense in a world that had stopped making sense years ago. "Cade, we need to talk." "I'm busy. It's about your mother." Cade's hands froze. The wrench slipped. Oil dripped onto concrete. "My mother's dead. Has been for years." "That's what Vincent told you." He was lying. Cade stood up slowly. "What do you mean lying?" Ghost pulled out a folder. "I've been digging into the backgrounds of all the kids from the ranch, trying to find families, trying to piece together who you all were before. I know who I was, a kid whose junkie mom abandoned him at a bus station. That's not what happened." Ghost opened the folder. "Your mother's name was Rebecca Lawson. She was an addict. That part's true. But 3 weeks after you disappeared, she checked herself into rehab. Spent 6 months getting clean." Cade's face had gone pale. "You're lying." "When she got out, she went looking for you, filed police reports, hired a private investigator she couldn't afford, worked 3 jobs to pay for it." "Stop." "She spent 2 years searching, 2 years of sobriety, 2 years of fighting to find you." "Then where is she?" Cade's voice cracked. "If she was looking so hard, where the hell is she?" Ghost's expression softened. "She got sick. Cancer. Stage 4. Diagnosed 4 months before the end. She fought it, but..." He paused. "She died 8 months ago." The wrench clattered to the floor. "No. I'm sorry, Cade. She fought till the very end." "No." Cade backed away. "That's not... She can't be..." "There's more." Ghost pulled out another document. "In her final week at hospice, she saw the news coverage. The raid on the mountain. Your face was on every channel." Cade stopped moving. "She knew you were alive. She knew you were safe. The nurses said she smiled for the first time in months. She saw me. She saw you, and she wrote you a letter." Ghost held out an envelope, old, worn, addressed in shaky handwriting. "The hospital kept it. They didn't know how to reach you. To my son, Cade, wherever you are." Cade stared at the envelope like it might explode, like touching it would make everything real and unbearable. "I can't, not yet, not here." "Take your time. I'll leave it." "No." Cade grabbed the envelope, clutched it to his chest. I need to be alone." He ran. Iron found him an hour later in the chapel, sitting in the dark, the letter still unopened in his hands. "Mind if I sit?" Cade shook his head. Iron sat, waited, let the silence stretch. "She was looking for me," Cade finally said. "The whole time I thought she'd abandoned me, she was looking." "I know. I hated her. For 3 years I hated her for leaving me." "You didn't know." "I should have known. I should have..." His voice broke. "She died thinking I was gone. She died alone. She died knowing you survived. That's not nothing." Cade looked at the envelope. "What if I can't read it? What if it's too..." "Then you wait until you can. There's no rush." "But what if..." He stopped, started again. "What if she says she's sorry? What if she blames herself? How do I live with that?" Iron thought about Stella, about the letters he'd written to her after she died, letters that said all the things he'd never gotten to say when she was alive. You live with it by honoring what she wanted for you, by being the person she fought to find, by not letting her sacrifice be wasted. "I don't know how to do that." "Yes, you do. You've been doing it for 3 years. You protected Harper. You survived. You became someone your mother would be proud of." Cade wiped his eyes. "Will you stay while I read it?" "As long as you need." The letter was 3 pages, written in a shaking hand that got stronger toward the end. It talked about regret and redemption, about the day Cade was taken and the day Rebecca decided to get clean, about 2 years of searching and never giving up hope, about seeing his face on TV and knowing finally that he'd survived, about being proud of the man he was becoming, about loving him even though she'd failed him. By the end, Cade was sobbing, not the silent tears of someone trying to be strong, full wrenching sob that came from somewhere deep and broken. Iron put his arm around the boy's shoulders and let him cry. She loved you, Iron said quietly. She never stopped loving you. I know, that's what makes it worse. They sat in the dark chapel for a long time. Eventually Harper appeared in the doorway. She'd been looking for Cade, sensed something was wrong the way children who'd survived trauma always could. Cade, he looked up, face wet, eyes red, completely shattered. Harper walked over and climbed into his lap without asking. Just settled there like she belonged, like she'd done it 1,000 times in cages when words couldn't help but presence could. Your mama, she asked softly. How did you? I heard ghosts talking. I'm sorry. Cade held her tight. She was looking for me, the whole time. I know, mamas always look. They never stop. How do you know? Because my mama's looking too. I can feel it. Even though I can't remember her face, I can feel her looking. Cade buried his face in Harper's hair. What do I do? How do I? You keep going. You help other kids. You make sure what happened to us doesn't happen to anyone else. Harper pulled back and looked at him. That's what she'd want. That's what all our mamas would want. When did you get so wise? When I had to. Iron watched them, two children who'd become siblings not through blood but through shared suffering. Two survivors who'd found family in the wreckage. Harper, Iron said gently, there's something else you need to know. She looked at him. We found your parents, your real parents, David and Morgan Whitmore. They live in Tucson. They've been searching for you since the day you were taken. Harper went very still. They're alive. They're alive. And they're coming here. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. They want to see you, but only if you want to see them. Harper's hands started shaking. What if I don't remember them? What if I see them and they're strangers? Then you get to know them again. What if they don't want me anymore, after everything that happened, after everyone knows what those men did? Cade held her tighter. They'll want you, trust me. Parents always want their kids back. But you said your mama died. You said she never found you. She died knowing I was safe. That's what mattered to her. That's what will matter to your parents. Cade's voice was rough. You get a second chance, Harper. Don't waste it being scared. Will you come with me when I meet them? If you want me there. I do. I need you there. Iron looked at these two children planning to face the most terrifying moment of their lives. Parents returning, families reforming, the possibility of healing and the certainty of pain all mixed together. Harper, there's one more thing. What? When your parents come, you get to decide what happens. If you want to go with them, you go. If you're not ready, you stay here. If you want both. He paused. You tell us what you need. Both. You and Cade, you're a package deal. If your parents can't understand that, can't accept that, then we figure out something else. Harper's eyes went wide. You mean? I mean you get to choose your family. Blood matters, but so does the person who held your hand through 3 years of hell. So does the brother who carried you 40 miles through the desert. You don't have to choose between your real parents and Cade. You can have both. Can I? You can do anything you want, sweetheart. You've earned that right. That night, Harper couldn't sleep. She paced the common room, practicing what she'd say, imagining faces she couldn't remember, trying to prepare for a moment that couldn't be prepared for. Marlowe found her at midnight. Can't sleep. What if they're disappointed? What if they remember a different Harper? A little girl who didn't know about monsters. Then they'll get to know the Harper you are now, the brave one, the strong one, the one who saved 47 children. I'm not brave, I'm just trying not to be scared all the time. Marlowe sat down and pulled Harper close. That's what brave means, being scared and doing it anyway. That's what Iron said. Iron's a smart man when he wants to be. Harper was quiet for a moment. Marlowe, do you think that my mama will love me, even though I'm different now? I think your mama will love you more than you can possibly imagine. I think she spent 3 years with a hole in her heart, shaped exactly like you. And tomorrow that hole gets filled. What if I don't remember how to be a daughter? You don't have to remember. You just have to be yourself. Let them love you. Let yourself love them back. The rest will follow. It's that simple. It's that hard, but you can do hard things. You've proven that. Harper leaned into Marlowe's embrace. Will you stay tomorrow when they come? Wild horses couldn't drag me away. The Whitmores arrived at 10 in the morning. Iron saw them through the window first. A man and a woman in their late 30s stepping out of a rental car like they were walking on holy ground. They held hands so tightly their knuckles were white. David Whitmore was tall with dark hair starting to gray. Morgan was smaller with brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Both had the look of people who'd been through war, exhausted, desperate, terrified of hope. Iron met them at the gate. Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore. Just David and Morgan, please. David's voice shook. Is Harper really here? She's here, she's safe, but I need to tell you some things before you see her. Morgan made a sound like she was drowning. Is she hurt? She's healing, but she's been through trauma you can't imagine. She's not the 5-year-old you remember. We don't care, we just want our daughter. I know you do, but Harper's scared. She's afraid you won't want her anymore. Afraid she's too different. That's insane, David said. She's our daughter. Nothing could change that. Tell her that. Not me. Her. Iron led them inside. Harper was in the common room with Cade, both of them sitting on the couch. When she saw the adults entering, she stood up. Cade stood beside her. Morgan stopped in this doorway. Her hand went to her mouth. Harper. Harper stared at the woman. Brown hair, brown eyes. Something familiar in the shape of her face, the curve of her smile. Mama, the word came out uncertain, questioning. The word of a child who'd spent 3 years trying to remember what home felt like. Morgan crossed the room in 3 steps and dropped to her knee in front of her daughter. Yes, baby, it's Mama. I'm here. I'm finally here. Harper reached out slowly, touched Morgan's face like she was checking if it was real. You came. Of course I came. I never stopped looking, never stopped hoping, never stopped loving you. But it's been so long, I thought maybe you forgot about me. Forget you, Morgan's voice broke. Baby, I could never forget you, not for 1 second. You're the first thing I think about when I wake up and the last thing I think about before I sleep. You're my whole world. David knelt beside his wife. We love you, Harper. We've always loved you. We'll always love you. Harper looked at them. These strangers who claimed to be her parents. These people who'd lost her and searched and never given up. And something clicked. A memory. Faint but there. A man singing songs at bedtime. A woman with brown hair kissing her forehead. A car ride. A hospital. A moment before everything went dark. Daddy used to sing to me. David's face crumpled. Yes, I did. About the mockingbird. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Papa's gonna buy you a mockingbird. The melody unlocked something. Harper's eyes went wide. More memories flooding back. A bedroom painted yellow. A swing set in a backyard. Birthday cake with pink frosting. A life before monsters. I remember, not everything, but I remember you. Morgan pulled out a photograph from her purse with shaking hands. Your birthday is March 15th, sweetheart. You turned 5 just 2 months before you were taken. We celebrated every year you were gone, blew out candles, made wishes you'd come home. Harper stared at the photo, a little girl in a yellow dress, laughing, holding a birthday cake shaped like a princess castle. That's me. That's you, baby. That's my beautiful girl. Morgan sobbed and pulled Harper into her arms. David wrapped around both of them. A family reuniting after 3 years of absence, 3 years of searching, 3 years of prayers that had finally been answered. Harper started crying. Not the silent tears of someone who'd learned crying was dangerous. Real tears, relief tears, coming home tears. Cade watched from a few feet away, happy for Harper, but feeling his own loss more acutely. His mother was gone. No reunion for him, no second chance. Harper pulled back from her parents suddenly. Wait, what's wrong, baby? Cade, he has to come too. Morgan looked confused. Who's Cade? He's my brother, not blood brother, but real brother. He protected me for 3 years. He carried me through the desert. He saved my life 100 times. Harper's voice was fierce. If I come with you, he comes with me. We're a package deal. David and Morgan looked at this teenage boy standing awkwardly nearby. You're Cade, David said. Yes, sir. You saved our daughter. She saved me too. We saved each other. Morgan stood up and walked to Cade. Without warning, she pulled him into a fierce hug. Thank you. Thank you for protecting her. Thank you for keeping her alive. Thank you for being there when we couldn't. Cade stood frozen. He hadn't been hugged by a mother in 3 years, hadn't felt that particular kind of love. The tears came before he could stop them. I didn't do anything special. I couldn't let them hurt her. That's everything. Morgan pulled back and looked at him, really looked at him. You're 15, yes, ma'am, and you have no family. My mother died 8 months ago. Then you have family now. Morgan's voice was certain. Harper's right. You're a package deal. Both of you are coming home with us. Ma'am, you don't have to. We want to. You saved our daughter. You became her brother. That makes you our son. Cade looked at Harper. She nodded. Go ahead. It's okay. We're okay. Are you sure? Cade asked. You don't even know me. David stepped forward. We know enough. We know you're brave. We know you're loyal. We know you protected Harper when no one else could. That's enough. What if I'm too broken? What if I have nightmares? What if I can't? Then we'll figure it out together. Morgan took his hand. We're not going to be perfect parents. We're going to mess up, but we'll love you and we'll try. That's all anyone can do. Cade looked at Iron, the man who'd saved him, the mentor who'd shown him what good men look like. Iron nodded. You've got my number. You need anything anytime you call. What if they change their minds? They won't, but if somehow they do, you come back here. This will always be home too. Harper came and stood between Cade and her parents, one hand holding Cade's, one hand holding Morgan's, bridging 2 worlds, connecting 2 families. Can we visit? Harper asked Iron. Can we come back and see you? You better. I expect you here at least once a month. Someone needs to keep these bikers in line. Harper smiled, a real smile, the kind that transformed her face from ancient to childlike. I can do that. The goodbyes took hours. Every member of the club wanted to hug Harper, to tell her she was brave, to thank her for reminding them why they rode, why they fought, why they existed. Finn was hardest. He'd been released from the hospital the day before and had stayed at the clubhouse. When he heard Harper was leaving, he panicked. You're leaving, but you just got back. I have to go with my parents, but I'll visit, I promise. Everyone promises. Nobody keeps promises. Harper knelt down to his level. I keep promises. I promised I'd send help, and I did. I promised I'd come back, and I did. I promise I'll visit, and I will. How do I know? Because I'm Harper Whitmore, and I always keep my promises. Finn hugged her tight. Can I write you letters? Every day if you want. Will you write back? Every single one. When they finally left, it was late afternoon. The Whitmores had rented a hotel room in town for the night. Wanted to take things slow, give Harper and Cade time to adjust. Iron watched them drive away. Marlowe came and stood beside him. You did good. We did good. She's going to change the world, that little girl. She already has. That night in a hotel room in Nevada, Harper lay in a real bed for the first time in 3 years. Morgan and David were in the next room. Cade was on a cot nearby. Cade, yeah, are you scared? Terrified. Me too. But it's a good scared, right? The kind of scared that means something good might happen. Harper thought about it. Yeah, that kind of scared. They fell asleep holding hands across the space between the bed and the cot. 2 survivors beginning the long journey back to something that looked like normal, something that looked like home. 3 months passed. Harper and Cade settled into life with the Whitmores in Tucson. It was hard. Therapy twice a week, nightmares most nights, moments when the past felt more real than the present. But there were good moments too. David teaching Cade how to fix cars, Morgan braiding Harper's hair, family dinners where everyone talked about their day, small, normal things that felt miraculous after 3 years of cages. Harper called Iron every Sunday, told him about school, about therapy, about the slow process of healing. "I testified today," she said on one call, "in court against Senator Crawford. How did it go?" "I told the truth." He cried. "His lawyers tried to make me look confused. But I'm not confused. I remember everything. I'm proud of you. Will you come to the next hearing, the big one?" Wild horses couldn't keep me away. The trial of Senator James Crawford became national news. Harper Whitmore, now 9 years old, was the star witness. She took the stand and spent 2 days detailing every visit, every conversation, every detail that would send a U.S. senator to prison for the rest of his life. The defense tried to break her, tried to paint her as a confused child, tried to suggest the Hells Angels had coached her. Harper never wavered. "Did you or did you not tell that man you wanted to hurt the senator?" the defense attorney asked. "I never said I wanted to hurt him. I said I wanted him in prison where he couldn't hurt other kids." "Isn't that the same thing?" "No, hurting him would be revenge. Prison is justice. There's a difference." The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Senator Crawford sentenced to life without parole. Harper watched the verdict with her parents, with Cade, with Iron and Marlowe, who'd flown in for the trial. "How do you feel?" Morgan asked. "Like maybe the nightmares will stop now. Like maybe I can start forgetting instead of just remembering. Is that what you want, to forget?" Harper shook her head. "No, I want to remember so I can help other kids who need to be remembered too." That was the moment the idea sparked. Harper started speaking at schools, at community centers, at law enforcement conferences. A 9-year-old girl telling her story, advocating for missing children, pushing for better laws, better protection, better systems. She became a voice for the voiceless. By the time she was 10, she'd spoken to over 50,000 people. Her viral testimony video had been viewed over 200 million times. She'd met with senators, congresspeople, law enforcement officials. Everyone wanted to hear from the girl who'd brought down the circle. But Harper didn't do it for fame. She did it for Finn, for Sophie, for Danny, for the 47 children from the mountain and the ranch, for every child who'd been taken and forgotten. She did it because someone had to. Iron and the Hells Angels hadn't been idle either. Using the attention from Harper's case, they'd launched something new, something unprecedented. The Guardian Program, a network of safe houses, vetted foster families, resources for rescued children, legal aid, therapy, education, everything a child needed to rebuild a life that had been shattered. They'd helped 17 children in the first month, 43 by the end of the first quarter. By the time Harper turned 10, they'd helped 217 children find safety. Harper's face was on the logo. Her voice was the mission statement. She'd become the symbol of survival and hope. On her 10th birthday, Harper made a request. "I want to go back to the clubhouse. I want to see Iron." The Whitmores drove her to Nevada. Cade came too, always together, always a package deal. Iron was waiting at the gate when they arrived. He looked older. The last year had aged him, but his smile was genuine when he saw Harper climbing out of the car. "There's my girl." Harper ran and jumped into his arms, still small for 10, still carrying that teddy bear everywhere she went. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." "Thanks, Grandpa Iron." The name had evolved naturally over the months. He'd become her grandfather in all the ways that mattered. The man who'd saved her, protected her, given her a voice. "I have something for you." Iron pulled out a small box. Inside was a locket, silver with an engraving. Not Stella's locket that stayed with Iron, but a new one with a photo inside. Harper and Stella, digitally created but perfect. Two girls who'd never met but who'd changed Iron's life completely. "She would have loved you," Iron said. "My Stella. You remind me of her every poem." Harper fastened the locket around her neck. "Tell me about her again." "She was brave like you, strong like you. She loved helping people, making things better." Iron's voice was rough. "She would be so proud of what you've done." That night, there was a party at the clubhouse. Not just for Harper's birthday, for everything, for survival, for justice, for family. All the rescued children were invited. Finn came with his new foster parents, Sophie and Danny, kids from the mountain who were well enough to travel, 47 children who owed their freedom to a little girl who'd refused to be silenced. Harper stood in the center of the common room and looked around at all the faces. Some she knew, some she didn't, all of them survivors, all of them fighters. "I want to say something," she announced. The room quieted. "A year ago, I was in a cage. I was 8 years old and I'd given up. I thought nobody was coming. I thought I'd die in that place." Her voice was steady. She'd practiced this. "But then Cade saved me. He carried me 40 miles through the desert because he believed in heroes. And we found Iron. And Iron believed in us. And together we saved 47 more kids. And then we saved 217 more. And we're not stopping." She looked around the room. Every kid here was taken. Every kid here was hurt. Every kid here survived. And now we're going to make sure no other kid has to survive what we survived. Applause, but Harper wasn't done. "The Guardian program is just the beginning. We're going to change laws. We're going to change systems. We're going to make the world safer for kids like us." More applause, louder now. "And I promise you, I promise every single one of you, your voices matter. Your stories matter. You matter." Harper's voice rose. "We were victims, but we're not victims anymore. We're survivors. We're advocates. We're the ones who change everything." The room erupted. 47 children and a dozen bikers and everyone who'd helped along the way standing and cheering for a 10-year-old girl who'd found her voice and used it to save the world. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, Iron found Harper on the porch, same place they'd sat a year ago, same stars overhead. "Can't sleep. Too much excitement. It was a good party. Yeah, thanks for everything, for today, for last year, for all of it. You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. You saved my life." "You saved your own life. I just opened a door." Harper looked at the desert stretching out into darkness. "Do you think it's really over? The circle? The trafficking? All of it? The circle is Brickonin, but there are other organizations, other monsters. The fight's never really over." "Good." Iron looked at her. "Good. Because I'm not done fighting. I'm just getting started. You're 10 years old. I'm also the girl who took down a senator, who testified in Congress, who helped create the Guardian program." Harper's voice was fierce. "Age doesn't matter when you have a mission. When did you get so wise?" "When I had to be." They sat in comfortable silence. Then Harper said something that made Iron's heart stop. "Someone's at the gate." "What?" "Someone just pulled up. I can hear them." Iron checked his phone. 2:47 in the morning. The exact time Cade and Harper had arrived a year ago. He went to the monitors. A car sat at the gate, 2 figures standing in the headlights. Young, scared, a girl maybe 13 holding the hand of a boy who couldn't be more than 7. Iron's breath caught. "Harper." She appeared at his side, looked at the screen. Her face transformed. "They need help." "Yeah." "Are you going to open the gate?" Iron looked at this little girl who'd changed everything, who'd transformed from victim to survivor to leader, who'd spent a year healing but never forgot where she came from. "Are you coming with me?" Harper nodded. "Always." They walked to the gate together, Iron and Harper, mentor and protege, guardian and voice. The girl at the gate looked up as they approached, tears streaming down her face. "Please, they said you help kids like us. They said—" Her voice broke. "Please." Iron started to speak, but Harper beat him to it. She stepped forward, looked at the terrified girl with eyes that understood, with a voice that had traveled the same dark road. "Hi, I'm Harper. You're safe now." The girl's knees buckled with relief. "Come inside," Harper continued. "We'll take care of you, both of you. Nobody's going to hurt you anymore." She took the girl's hand. The girl took the boy's hand. A chain of survivors stretching from darkness into light. Iron held the gate open as they passed through. Harper looked back at him and smiled. Not the scared smile of a broken child, the confident smile of someone who'd found her purpose. "The work continues," she said. "It always does." "Good, because I'm not done yet." Inside, Cade was awake. He'd heard the commotion. Marlowe was pulling on clothes. Other members were stirring. The Guardian program's next cases had just arrived. Harper led the children to the common room, wrapped them in blankets, offered water, spoke softly about safety and hope, and how the nightmares would eventually fade, even though they never really went away. She'd become what she'd needed a year ago, a voice in the darkness, a hand reaching out, a promise that rescue was real. Iron watched her and understood that this was the legacy, not the raids, not the arrests, not even the Guardian program itself. Harper, a child who'd been broken and rebuilt herself into something stronger, who'd taken her trauma and transformed it into purpose, who would spend the rest of her life making sure other children didn't have to suffer alone. The sun rose over the Nevada desert, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Inside the clubhouse, two new children slept on couches, safe for the first time in God knows how long. Harper sat between them, keeping watch, her teddy bear in her lap, her locket around her neck. Cade appeared with coffee for the adults. "How many is that now?" he asked Iron. 219, 220 if you count both kids. "Harper's going to want to help them." "I know. She can't save everyone." "No, but she can save some, and some is better than none." Marlo joined them, looking at Harper dozing between the rescued children. "She's going to testify again next week. Congressional hearing on child trafficking reform." "I know. I'm going with her." "She's changing laws at 10 years old. She changed me at 8. Laws are easy compared to that." The months blurred into seasons. Harper's 10th year became her 11th. The Guardian program expanded to 5 states. 400 children helped, then 600, then 1,000. Harper spoke at the United Nations, at the White House, at law enforcement conferences around the world, always with Cade beside her, always with her parents supporting her, always with Iron's teachings guiding her. The Child Protection Reform Act passed with unanimous bipartisan support. Harper had testified for 3 hours, told her story, outlined the failures in the system, proposed solutions. The bill was nicknamed Harper's Law. She was 12 years old. By the time Harper turned 13, she'd helped draft 5 major pieces of legislation. The Guardian program had expanded to 12 states and helped over 2,000 children. She'd written a book, started a foundation, become the youngest person ever nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. But she never forgot where she came from. Every month she returned to the clubhouse, checked on Iron and Marlo, helped with new cases, spoke to newly rescued children about hope and healing and the long road ahead. And sometimes late at night she'd sit on the porch with Iron and look at the stars. "Do you ever regret it?" Iron asked one night. "Becoming this public, giving up your privacy?" "No, because every time I speak, someone hears. Every time I testify, things change. Every time I help one kid, it's worth it." "You're 13 years old. You should be worried about homework and boys and normal teenager stuff." "I'm not normal. I never will be. But I can be useful." "You're more than useful. You're extraordinary." Harper leaned against him. "You taught me that. You and Cade and Finn and all the others. You taught me that survival isn't enough. You have to do something with it." "Is that what I taught you?" "That's what you showed me." On Harper's 14th birthday, the Guardian program celebrated helping its 5,000th child. The event was massive. Press coverage, politicians, celebrities. Everyone wanted to be part of the miracle. But Harper only cared about one moment, when the 5,000th child walked across the stage. A little girl, 7 years old, rescued from a trafficking ring in Oregon. Scared but safe. Harper knelt down in front of her. "Hi, I'm Harper. I know who you are. You're famous. I'm not famous. I'm just someone who's survived. Like you. Am I going to be okay?" Harper thought about the question, the honest answer, the true answer. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have nightmares. You're going to be scared sometimes. But you're also going to have good days. And the good days will start to outnumber the bad days. And eventually you'll realize you're not just surviving anymore. You're living. "I promise, again." "I promise, because I've been where you are. And I'm here now, and you will be too." The little girl hugged her. Harper held on tight. Another child saved. Another promise kept. That night, Iron made an announcement. "The Guardian program has grown beyond anything we imagined. We've helped 5,000 kids. We've changed laws in 12 states. We've created a network that will last long after we're gone." He looked at Harper. "And it's all because a scared 8-year-old girl found her voice, because she chose to speak instead of staying silent, because she turned her trauma into purpose." Applause filled the room. "Harper, would you say a few words?" Harper stood, 14 years old now, taller, older, but still carrying that same teddy bear, still wearing that locket with Stella's picture. "6 years ago, I was taken from a hospital parking lot. For 3 years, I was kept in a cage. I was hurt. I was scared. I gave up." She looked around the room. "But then Cade saved me, and Iron saved both of us. And together we saved 47 more. And then we saved 5,000 more. And we're not stopping." Her voice grew stronger. "Every child deserves safety. Every child deserves protection. Every child deserves a voice. And if the systems fail them, if the adults fail them, then we build new systems. We become new adults. We do better." She looked directly at the camera recording the event. "To every child out there who's scared, who's trapped, who's given up hope, don't give up. Someone is coming. Someone is looking. Someone will save you. And if they don't survive long enough to save yourself, and then help save others." The room erupted in applause. But Harper wasn't done. "And to the monsters out there who hurt children, who traffic them, who break them, your time is over. We're coming for you, all of us, every survivor, every advocate, every person who believes children deserve better. We're coming, and we will win." The applause became deafening. Harper sat down between Kate and her parents. Morgan kissed her forehead. David squeezed her hand. Kate put his arm around her shoulders. "Good speech," he said. "Thanks. I practiced." "I know. I heard you practicing at 2 in the morning. Couldn't sleep. Nightmares." "Yeah, but not as bad as before. They're getting better, slowly. Therapy helps. Having a family helps. Knowing I'm making a difference helps." "You're making more than a difference. You're changing the world." Harper looked at her brother, this boy who'd carried her through the desert, who'd protected her for 3 years, who'd become her family in the truest sense. "We're changing the world, together. Always together. Always." Years passed. Harper graduated high school at 16, started college at 17, studying law and psychology. She continued speaking, continued advocating, continued fighting. The Guardian program expanded to all 50 states, then to Canada, then to Mexico, an international network of protection and healing. By the time Harper was 20, they'd helped over 20,000 children. Cade became a social worker specializing in trauma. He ran the Guardian program's intake system, interviewed children, placed them in safe homes, used his own experiences to help others heal. Finn became a therapist. Sophie went into law enforcement. Danny became a teacher. All the children from the ranch and the mountain found ways to transform their trauma into purpose. Iron retired at 63, handed over the Hells Angels presidency to Raven. But he never left the Guardian program, never stopped fighting, never stopped being Grandpa Iron to hundreds of rescued children. Marlo married him again. 10 years after their divorce, they stood in the desert and said vows that meant more the second time around. Harper was the maid of honor. Cade walked Marlo down the aisle. On Harper's 21st birthday, she made an announcement. "I'm running for Congress." The room fell silent. "You're 21, Morgan said, and the minimum age is 25. "I know. So I have 4 years to prepare. 4 years to build a campaign. 4 years to get ready to change things from the inside." "You really want to do this?" "I've spent 13 years advocating from the outside. Now I want to make laws from the inside. Real change, permanent change." Iron smiled. "You're going to win." "How do you know?" "Because you're Harper Whitmore, and you always keep your promises." 4 years later, at 25, Harper ran for Congress in Arizona's 3rd District. Her campaign was unprecedented, a survivor running on a platform of child protection and systemic reform. She won in a landslide. Congresswoman Harper Whitmore, the youngest member of Congress, the first survivor of trafficking to hold federal office. Her first bill was comprehensive trafficking reform, mandatory reporting, increased funding for victim services, harsher penalties for perpetrators. It passed with overwhelming support. Harper's Law 2.0. But she didn't stop there. Education reform, healthcare access, foster care overhaul, bill after bill focused on protecting children, healing survivors, preventing future traumas. She became known as the children's champion. On her 30th birthday, Harper received a letter from a girl she didn't know, 15 years old, rescued from a trafficking ring in Florida. The letter said simply, "Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for showing me that survival is possible. You saved my life without ever meeting me. Now I'm going to save others, just like you taught us." Harper kept the letter in her desk drawer. Read it whenever the work felt too hard, whenever the nightmares came back, whenever she wondered if anything she did mattered. It mattered. By the time Harper was 35, the Guardian program had helped over 100,000 children. The organization had offices in 30 countries, a budget of $50 million, hundreds of employees, thousands of volunteers. But Harper never forgot the beginning. Every year on the anniversary of her rescue, she returned to the clubhouse. Same gate, same desert, same stars overhead. Iron was 80 now, moving slower, gray hair completely white. But his eyes were still sharp, still fierce. "How many kids this year?" he asked. 8,342. "That's a lot of lives. It's not enough. It'll never be enough until every child is safe." "You can't save everyone, Harper." "No, but I can save some, and some is better than none." She'd been saying that for 27 years, since she was 8 years old and first found her voice. The math had changed, but the mission hadn't. "I'm proud of you," Iron said, "more than you know. I couldn't have done any of it without you." "Yes, you could. You're the strongest person I've ever met. I learned from the best." They sat in comfortable silence, an old man and a woman who'd once been a broken child, a mentor in his greatest achievement, a grandfather and the girl who'd given his life meaning after loss. "Iron. Yeah. Do you ever think about Stella, wonder what she'd be like if she'd lived every day?" "I think she'd be like you, strong, brave, fighting for people who need fighting for." "She'd be like you mean?" "Maybe we're both a little bit Stella." Iron smiled. "Maybe we are." The sound of a car pulling up broke the moment. Harper checked her phone. 2:47 in the morning. "Some things never change," she said. At the gate, a figure stood in the headlights. A girl, 16 maybe, alone, scared. Another child who'd heard about the place where broken things came to be fixed. Harper stood. "I should go, that's what we do." Harper walked to the gate, opened it without hesitation, looked at the terrified girl with eyes that understood everything. "Hi, I'm Harper. You're safe now." The girl collapsed with relief. "Come inside, we'll take care of you. Nobody's going to hurt you anymore." As Harper led the girl toward the clubhouse, she looked back at Iron. He raised his coffee cup in salute. She smiled. The work continued, it always would, because some doors once opened could never be closed. Some promises once made must never be broken. Some voices once found would never be silent again. And some heroes weren't born. They were forged in fire and pain, in cages in the desert. They were 8-year-old girls who refused to give up. They were 15-year-old boys who carried their sisters through hell. They were bikers who opened gates at 2:47 in the morning. They were nurses who showed up when called. They were families who chose love over blood. They were survivors who became advocates, who became legends. Harper Whitmore, guardian, voice, hero. The girl who'd been taken and found her way home. The girl who'd been broken and rebuilt herself stronger. The girl who'd been silenced and became the loudest voice for the voiceless. The end was just another beginning, and this beginning had only just started.